1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost a weekend and you don't know what to do. Or you just need something fun to listen to.
Southside Pod!
Yes, we're on the air.
Southside Pod!
And the gang's all here, all things on the South Side. You're listening to the Southside Pod. Looking for the best Southside breweries. Or you might just need an awesome place to eat.
Southside Pod!
Mount Greenwood, Evergreen,
Southside Pod!
Blue Island, Beverly, Payless, and Allsup 2. You're tuned into the Southside Pod.
Southside Pod!
Oakland, Midlothian,
Southside Pod!
Oak Forest, Chicago Ridge, Flossmoor, and Bridgeview. You're listening to Southside Pod.
Did you see this thing that James Van Assel's trying to do? I know a lot of people know.
JVO from
Yeah.
Q101?
JVO.
Right. Like, big radio
And
guy.
many other radio
for
stations.
decades, right?
Yeah.
So,
Remember Zoltar, the brother from another planet?
yes.
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 Where's he at?
I don't know. I have no idea. But JVO
Get canceled.
eaten by cats. That's what happened. Okay, so
Lives behind me right now.
Lizzie Ivy.
Playing industrial music. Here's Front 242.
He, I guess, has a podcast and decided he's really into podcasting
It's called like
now.
Con Carne.
Yeah.
He like reviews
About steak.
something in cars while eating.
Yeah, he drives while he's in his car doing the podcast. I
Yeah, but he
noticed that.
eats. Yeah,
And
you have to eat something.
Eats while driving
Eats
and podcasting.
tacos.
It's totally
I'm gonna
safe.
say,
Sounds really
tacos.
safe.
Listen, it's totally safe to be driving, broadcasting, and eating all at the same time. This is
Maybe
not,
he's got a driver. Maybe he's
this
got a
is
Jeep.
definitely not dangerous in
Maybe he's
any
in
way.
an Uber.
Like, he's sitting there trying to eat a taco.
Maybe he's have a Tesla. You have no idea what JVO drives.
He's like, wow, this giant taco is so
Yeah.
hard to eat. I have to use both hands. Like, how does he do it? And I'm driving
Good
down
thing
the
my
Eaton's.
Model S drives
Right.
itself
So anyway,
while I podcast
he is
and eat.
he is trying this new project, and he reached out to us. What he decided to do was ask people maybe about a month or so ago to submit podcasts that they liked, and he was going to listen to them.
Okay.
And he discovered Southside Pod because somebody must have submitted
Why
us.
wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Totally wasn't Chris either.
And then, out of these thousands of podcasts,
Thousands.
he reached out to us
Yeah.
and decided that he would like us to be one of the 10 podcasts
Get out of here.
on a vinyl album
Finally, the South Side is getting its due.
of Chicagoland podcasts.
We're getting vinyl-fied?
We're getting put on. I've
We'll
never been on
probably be
vinyl
some
before.
weird secret track, like
Right.
you know.
That if you play it backwards,
Right, you have to put the needle on in the
Tells you
middle
that
of the
Paul
record
McCartney's
to
already
find
dead?
To find the
Right.
third groove.
Right, exactly. It's like some weird thing happens. But we're going to be on this thing if a Kickstarter campaign goes through.
What's
Wait,
the Kickstarter called?
I got to look this thing up now.
It's called Phonation.
You know
Don't
what it
worry.
is. Okay.
I did the work for you, Chris.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Bill has
PHO
notes.
Nation. Phonation, like phonograph.
But
So
Nation.
if this thing gets made, we'll be one of 10 podcasts.
That's awesome.
They've already reached out to us.
We're putting
and
podcasts
said we're
on
gonna do it.
vinyl.
Right. I don't get it.
Seems a little backwards, like a YouTube video on VHS.
That's the next Kickstarter.
Can we start this Kickstarter right now?
Wow. Wow,
Nailed it. That's
Bill.
amazing.
Forget JVOs. We have a new one. It's not up yet.
It's not up yet.
We don't even know the name.
But it's going to be YouTube videos on a VHS cassette.
All your favorite YouTube videos
Let's go with beta.
on VHS. Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa, even more obscure.
Laserdisc.
James Van Osdale actually on the line with us right now on Southside Pod. What's up, JVO?
Southside Pod, very well done. Very funny, community-focused podcast. Mount Greenwood, Evergreen, Blue Island, Beverly, Payless, and Elsip 2. You're tuned into the Southside Pod. Oaklawn, Midlothian, Oak Forest, Chicago Ridge, Flossmoor, and Bridgeview. You're listening to Southside Pod. Did I get that right, Chris Lanuti of Southside Pod?
I'm going to tell you something. Bill would think that was the greatest thing in the world, that somebody knew all of his lyrics. He's still mad at me for the intro because we practiced it and we were sitting down here. And if you notice, there's a point where I don't jump in and yell Southside Pod in the background, and it aggravates him every week. Every week he sends me something. He goes, "Great show. You still screw up in the intro." And he won't re-record it because he's not going to make, he thinks he's perfect in it, so he's not changing it. But it's like there's a mistake in the intro for all of time. But he'd be really excited that you remembered how the show starts off. And I appreciate you including us in your project right now. I hope that more of your Facebook friends start donating.
Seriously, 150th. I'm not bitter, but come on. But I love Southside Pod. I mean, for someone, I'm a North Side guy. I love the South Side. I love my friends on the South Side. This is great, and I think you figured it out, Chris. Something that I'd like to think I figured out as well. Hyperlocal is the only thing that cuts through in podcasting. Every other concept has been or has currently been done. Like there's nothing new you can bring to the podcasting universe. So by planting your flag in something that is unique and local, that's the only way through.
Well, you got to find something, first of all, that you like. Like you have to really be passionate about it. Like I have people ask me like, well, why do some of your shows work so well? And I always go, well, I care about them. Like I can do the Evergreen Park one because I live in Evergreen Park. Like and my kids go to school in Evergreen Park. I've been in Evergreen Park for 15 years. I wasn't born here, but I've spent the last 15 years here. So it's easy for me to talk about everything that's going on there. It's easy for me to talk about the White Sox. They're my favorite team. Like I like the Bears, but I don't think the show would be as good because I'm such a baseball geek that the White Sox one would make far more sense for me. And the South Side one just makes sense. We're all South Side guys and gals. We've got, a few females that'll jump on the show from time to time and contribute as well. We've got a whole group of people, and we all grew up down here. And, this is where we're from. And we've got that Southside chip on our shoulder where, like, nobody ever includes us in anything. Like, whenever they put out, like, the top 25 places to get a burger, there's never one for the Southside. Like, best 25 places to get a slice, best 25 places to go get a beer. It's, like, the most South they get is, like, Cermak. Like, that's maybe. That's it. Like, they got South Loop. They got, and here's our Southside location. It's just south of the river. Like, I mean, that's how it is. So this was like a missing thing for the South Side, and that's why we thought it'd be a fun idea, and it's taken off. We're really enjoying doing it.
It's so funny you say that. I've been going to Blue Island a lot. There's a lot to do in Blue Island. I go to Rock Island Public House. I go to Blue Island Beer Company. And I think the last time I was at Blue Island Beer Company, the owner, Alan, said to me, wow, man, thank you so much for coming all the way out here. Like I just made a trip to the south of France, but it's true. It's that South Side chip on the shoulder. And there is, I think, on the, to disparage the North Side, there's that perception that the South Side is like traveling across the globe,
right,
to get to where you're going. Well, like it's not a quick 20-minute trip up 94 and 57 to go to Blue Island or Alsip or any of those places. Speaking of hyper-local, this is definitely, I think, more of a South Side thing than a North Side thing. You talk about a North Side thing. You talk about the local high schools, Macaulay High School, Marian Catholic. I don't see the same sort of proprietary pride in North Side high schools, but that's the thing on the South Side.
It is. It's weird. The only way I can kind of describe it, my wife is from Wheeling, West Virginia. So she's not from here. I met her in my travels when I was younger. And she moved back here, and she laughs about the South Side. She's like, for all the joking that you have about where I come from, some small town that cares about high school sports, the South Side's the same thing. Like she just goes, it's the same thing. First of all, everybody knows each other. It's like a very big little city down here. It's like a small town. Everybody knows each other, and everybody still cares about what happened in high school. Everybody's still following their high school sports. Everybody kind of like is interested in what's going on with the high schools. And you know what? She's right. I never thought of it as much as I do now that she compares it. And she goes, it's very similar to small town America, the way that the South Side kind of latches on to their communities, their neighborhoods, their high schools, things like that. And you know what? The great thing is that this summer we're getting back the church carnivals. Like, that's the biggest story. I'm in Evergreen Park right now. The biggest story this week is that Most Holy Redeemer has gotten permission to have their carnival all of a sudden. And it was originally canceled. And it's like people are dancing in the streets right now that the zipper's coming. Like, they're super excited about it.
Can't do the zipper.
Yeah, they can't wait to get an elephant here.
Well, what's the one ride that goes around super fast? It's not like the zipper that goes vertical. It's like horse. Is that the Himalaya that goes super fast?
Oh, are you talking about the one where you stick to the wall, the Gravitron?
No, not the Gravitron. No? Okay. Just it's like a coaster, but it goes super fast in a circle on a track. I think it's the Himalaya. Now, when I was a kid, Chris, you could count on that ride to hear Slayer, Judas Priest, and Metallica songs.
Yeah, the
music's all different now at the carnivals.
Yeah,
it's all very, very pop and synthy.
You're right. And you're right though about what used to play on those rides. That's exactly what would play on that ride. That's where you got all your 80s hair metal was on that ride. I can't believe I'm on anything with JVO, man. Chicago kid. I can't believe that I'm on with JVL right now. This is awesome.
Well, I want to listen to you. I like Southside Pod. Southside Pod deserves to be immortalized, commemorated, pressed onto a handsome 10-track vinyl edition, Phonation. I want to get people to pledge money. If you can't afford to pledge, let people know. Funding for Phonation, a Chicago podcast compilation, wraps up Friday night, the 25th at 8 p.m. So the clock is ticking. And I'd love for people to own this, put this on their shelves. If they don't even collect vinyl, it would still look cool in their house. And I promise the cover will look cool too.
So now, if for some reason we don't get to the total, is there like a backup plan where we come back with only like 1 or 2 shows and it's about the size of that McDonald's record that you got that one time? Remember where they had to sing the whole song, Big Mac McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese, and if it got all the way through, you won something?
Remember that.
You remember that? Like that one you might be able to do for less.
Yeah, there's no backup plan. It's an all or not. If you're going down the road of trying to get funded, it's almost not healthy or counterproductive to think, well, if this doesn't work, what can we do? No, when you're in it, you're in it. You've got to make this happen. And that's where I'm at right now. And I realize with a lot of these projects, sometimes the funding will happen within the last 24 hours. I'm hoping that happens with this because, I don't think it's a question of if. I think it's a question of when we'll start seeing podcasts pressed onto vinyl, just like we did radio shows in the old days or comedy records. I think it's just a given that this will happen. I'd like to say that Chicago podcasts were the first in the pool for this.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think I've already mentioned this to you, but if I haven't, I'm honored that you liked the show so much to put it on there, to be honest with you. Like when you reached out, I was like, come on. Like, like really? Like we're one of the 10 that you want to put on here? Are you crazy? Did you get our one good episode? But I really do appreciate the fact that you're putting us on there, and I hope it works out. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, and again, going back to hyperlocal, there are plenty of Chicago-based podcasts, but yours really speaks to Chicago culture, and it speaks to a very specific interest and category. And that was one of the goals, is having a breadth of tastes and interests represented. And I mean, you nail Southside culture and lifestyle. I love it. And I think it's a really important piece of what this can and will be.
As we're coming into summer here, 2021, things are relaxing. Rules are changing.
I'm free and loose, Bill.
Things are opening up. People are beginning to demask and be free.
Pants off.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
already off.
Okay. Go with it. People are beginning to get vaccinated and free and beginning to enjoy the world once again.
With their pants off.
Okay. You know what you can do with your pants off, as long as your trunks are on, is go swimming.
Ooh, where?
And for a while, a lot of the pools were closed. A lot of the participants were like, no way, forget it. But now that we're entering a brand new normal.
New normal.
New normal.
New normal.
Yes. New normal.
It's the new normal before the new normal.
Yes.
So many normals.
There's a lot of new normals.
All of them new.
However, we're back. We're back to opening up the world. We're back to enjoying each other. We're back to taking off our masks and realizing what a smile looks like to one another. We're back to putting our trunks on and diving into the pools of our communities. And one of the best pools that we have is located right here on the south side of Chicago, and that is located in a little town called Alsip. It's right there on Pulaski. It's Alsip. And I'm not talking about the Park District pool. That's too bougie, as the kids say, right?
Foo-foo.
Yeah, you need memberships and right.
Memberships.
Vaccination cards.
Not presenting my papers to anyone.
Right. We're talking about a little pool located right down the street from the Park District.
Alsip.
In a parking lot.
Pulaski.
It's on Pulaski. Of the Jewel Osco.
Alsip. Jewel.
You see, a few years ago, I don't know what construction company it is, but they did a very poor job of grading the parking lot. And every time we get somewhat, not even a torrential downpour, not even a thunderstorm, not even a heavy rain, but if we get somewhat of a drizzle for shizzle, we get the Alsip Jewel pool.
It's in ground,
So bring out your tubes,
asphalt.
your inflatable swans, your floaties, your pontoon boats, your John boats. Hey, bring a jet ski if you want to the awesome Jewel Pool.
Jewel Pool
Rides with jet ski.
in Elsip.
But be careful, cause there's no lifeguard on duty at the Allsup
Swim at your
Jewel
own
Pool.
risk.
There's no deep end, well there might be depending how much it rained last night. But we welcome all and we don't need a membership card. You just park your car and you dive right into the Allsup Jewel Pool.
Don't drive through
Jewel Pulaski.
Elsip.
You can go in on Cheap Chicken Monday and get yourself a piece of fried chicken.
Cheap Chicken Monday.
You can go in and get yourself some of those delicious chocolate chip cookies in the purple bag.
I love those damn cookies.
And go right out to your car and just open the door.
Swim
And you're
right
there.
in.
Because this pool is not even a pool, it's in a damn parking lot.
Swimming in a park.
At the Allsup Jewel Pulaski.
Put on your floaties,
And don't forget your tetanus shots.
You're gonna need the tetanus shots as well.
Elsip Jewel Swimming Pool.
On Pulaski. The Allsup Jewel Pool. It's on Pulaski.
Hey gang, ever wonder what it's like to be a small business owner? It's confusing. Weird expenses coming out of nowhere, and when you throw in health insurance, forget it. Nobody understands how that works. If you own a business, big or small, it's one of the biggest expenses you have all year long. And yet, we all wait until open enrollment at the end of the year, and then we think to ourselves, next year I'll get a jump on it. And then it's another year of paying way too much. If you're a business owner, big or small, HR representative that wants to impress the boss, give Butch Zemar of Elite Benefits of America a call. Save yourself or your boss thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars a year. Reach out to Butch right now, 708-535-3006, or shoot him an email, butch@elitebenefits.net. And be sure to check out the Zemar podcast. Don't wait till the last minute. Put Butch Zemar to work for you now. I'm sitting here experimenting again with one of these seltzer water things with the flavors and the alcohol in it to try to lighten up this summer.
Do you remember wine coolers?
Yeah,
It's a lot like it's
like
a,
Bartles and James.
it tastes like a wine cooler.
Bartles and James.
Half the
like
calories.
Like every Southside kid starts on. From
Bartles
the
and
80s,
James.
Right?
I started on-
sneaking a Bartles and James
No,
on
you know
your
what-
parents' cooler at the block party.
Yeah. You know what I had? A Seagram's. That's what I was on. But you're right, Bartles and any of the wine coolers. Like, you know what I used to keep my booze in when I was sneaking it when I was real little? When I was 5 years old.
Your diaper?
No. It came out so weird.
Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox.
No, when I was like, let's say I'm 16 years old or whatever like that, or 15 years old, and I was able to get a hold of a couple of wine coolers. I would hide them inside of the toy box my mother had for me when I was a little kid. It's still down here. It's like something from the 70s with like those weird 70 drawn cartoons that
Yeah.
look like they were all drawn by somebody who was on
Sure.
LSD.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Because
everything's
they were.
really strange in
Right.
it. And I still have it for the kids here. And like all my puzzles and my toys and my army guys were in there. And then buried underneath it were all my Bartles and James and Seagrams that I was stealing.
You had army
after
guys
parties.
when you were a teenager?
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, they
if
just
you
stayed
don't,
in there, right?
if you
Oh.
don't clean out the little kid toys, she'll never suspect that underneath the little kid toys.
She opens it up and she's
Is
like,
the
"Oh,
booze.
my little baby."
Oh, he still plays with
I
his
don't.
army
Yeah,
guys.
I don't want to mess with this. I don't want. I just want to preserve this.
Yeah, you put like a stuffed animal in
Yeah,
there.
oh, yeah.
Holding like another
Like,
stuffed
"Mommy."
animal. And I'm like, they're sleeping together.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
most people
Don't
would be
touch
like,
them. They're sleeping.
right, that would be a weird thing for a 15-year-old
Meanwhile,
man to
it's
do.
hiding your booze.
Your strawberry flavor and Bartles and James 4-pack.
And your grass.
Inside of Elmo is a 6-pack.
Right. You were like muling dope when you were a teenager. Hiding your black tar heroin inside of your army men.
It is now time for your Southside Pod word on the street, and we'll start in Oak Lawn. 4th of July fireworks are happening, but they will not be at Richards High School. No, they've got the stands closed, so you'll see fireworks, but look for them in the sky above Oak Lawn. After last summer, you take what you can get. Meanwhile, former Markham Mayor David Webb has been sentenced to 2 years in a federal prison after taking part in a $300,000 bribery scheme. He was the mayor from 01 through 07 and pled guilty to wire fraud and filing a false tax return. Turns out he used to get his bribes through campaign contributions, shell companies, and cash hidden inside of coffee cups. Why don't I ever get a coffee cup full of cash? And if you're going to be out and about in Palos Park over the 4th of July weekend, do not drink and drive. You should never do it anywhere, but in Palos Park, definitely do not drink and drive because they are stepping up a search for drunk drivers. They will be increasing DUI patrols for the July 4th weekend, but if you are drinking and in Palos Park, the Palos Park Police Department will provide you a ride home. So just give them a call. It's a free trip home. 708-448-2191. John Branson down here with us, and I love when John comes by and sits at the 9-foot homemade oak bar and brings goodies. And his goodies are normally in the form of a 32-ounce crowler that has beer inside of it. Delicious beer. And this one is right up my alley, buddy, because it's like a double IPA, and this is the kind of stuff that makes my friends kind of cringe because I like this heavy stuff.
I love it.
But how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I was in your place over the weekend, and I'm going to tell this story. I've already told it to John, but I got to tell it to him again so everybody can hear it. I go into your place, and it's so nice to see smiling faces again.
It is.
You know what? There is a lost thing that I didn't realize that I had lost, and that was the attractive bartender behind the bar smiling at me. You know, just being friendly, but smiling at me. Like
genuinely smiling. Like,
yeah. One thing, I don't know if we've talked a lot about this generally, but what do they say? 90 or 80% of communication are nonverbal cues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder to what extent some of the way we've felt generally about engaging with people in the public the last 14 months is due to the fact that we can't see their faces.
Yeah.
Right. No, we can't see their faces.
You can't see nonverbal cues. You can't see somebody smiling at you. And I suspect that probably has affected our relationships with people we come across on a day-to-day basis, like a lot of other things. But to your point, seeing a bartender with a smile on their face, serving you a beer, talking about beer is a wonderful thing, and we took that for granted, and it's really nice to be back, and it's also nice to be able to see the faces of our customers again as well.
With Open Outcry and the vibe that you have over there, and your neighborhood spot, you got that great rooftop over there, the amazing selection of beers, the pizza, the food, the doors opening up in the summer. It's one of the summer spots on the South Side. And this beer is perfect for me this week because we're talking about how the whole world has opened up and things are getting back to normal. I've also, it's like the fast forward button was hit here in this house, John. I have a 15-year-old daughter that when this whole thing started was much younger. And now is going into her sophomore year here in the fall at Macaulay. And that is such a quick turnaround. And now all of a sudden there's like activities and things for her to do. And I barely see her. And she's running around and she has weird requests. And she gives me a headache almost every single day at this point. And so I want something a little bit stronger. And you brought something for me. It's
and I'm chugging it because I have to remind myself it's a double.
Yeah, every once in a while I need something a little bit stronger when I'm dealing with my teenage daughter.
Isn't that something though? She's a sophomore and this has been going on for a year and a half.
Yeah.
She was in 8th grade.
She was in 8th grade and she'll be going into her sophomore year here.
We just released this beer today and we brewed it based on customer requests. This is a fan favorite. This is the Driscoll. It's our double IPA or an Imperial IPA, kind of means the same things. It's 10.5%.
Ooh, so I got to slow down.
So it's a big beer.
Yummy.
It's big beer.
Yeah.
And it's what you would expect from a double IPA, right? So it's got 2 or 3x the hops you would expect, the hops and the bitterness you would expect in a regular IPA. when you bring that many hops to the beer, you get those earthy, grassy notes along with the citrus and the floral bouquet as well.
Right.
We also dry hop this. We dry hop this with Centennial hops and Citra hops. Citra hops are awesome. They give you all those citrus floral notes that you're getting in the nose of that thing.
A lot of
know?
great beers use the Citra hops.
It's just a fun hop to
Yeah.
use. And when we get our hands on it, we'd like to dry hop with it, and that's what Will did with this beer. It's 10.5%.
Yeah, I
So
love it. You keep
you gotta
trying
be
to scare me
careful
with
with
this ABV. I've got stronger beers behind my behind the bar there over there in the little beer fridge.
But it goes down so good.
You're not frightening me. You know what I like about this beer though is that I can't tell that it's 10.5.
That is true. It's a deceptive 10.5.
Yeah, it's actually well brewed and very smooth. Listen, you only live once, John. After the last year and a half, why hold back on anything at this point? You never know when they're going to tell
nothing.
you. You never know when they're going to tell you go sit in your house for another year and a half. Okay, get out and enjoy yourself. Open Outcry. It's on the 100 and 900 block of Western Avenue. You're right there in the center of it. You can't miss it. You got the big giant upper deck there. You got
for the yellow chairs.
Oh goodness gracious! He's one of the greatest marketers on the entire south side
He
of
really
Chicago.
is. His Instagram,
Okay.
follow them on Instagram.
Yeah, get him on Instagram. And John Brand's got a great brewer over there. Will Turner is making beers at a level that only the big boys can make them, and you can get it right here on the south side of Chicago. And John, thanks again for the goodies, bringing over another 32-ounce crawler. And
It's always a pleasure. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me, guys. Appreciate it.
I have a confession to make. It's true, and I'm guessing you have done the same thing. Put more time into thinking about what's for dinner than preparing for your retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, I agree with you, and I want to help you out. I've got a local, experienced, down-to-earth guy who's a friend of this show. He's got a get-to-know-you approach and do the right thing values, and he's been around for over 20 years right here on the South Side. His name is Tom Walsh. He's located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, and he's waiting for your call. In times of financial uncertainty, how can you stay on track? Call someone who's invested in your success. Reach out to Tom now, 773-779-0023, or pop in at the office right on 111th and Kedzie. Tell him we sent you. Edward Jones, Making Sense of Investing, member SIPC. I was invited to come over to the 50-acre park in Evergreen Park, and they have a driving range there, and their Chamber of Commerce was holding an event for all their members where they were teaching people how to golf to get ready for this big August golf outing they're doing in the entire village.
Did you help teach people how to
No,
golf?
they wanted me to just come and cover it and like get some audio for the EP podcast, one of the other podcasts.
Golf
that we're doing.
audio is just riveting.
Well, you know, I make jokes. I made some jokes,
He
and I got
swings.
somebody to talk about something.
Why do golfers always wear two pants?
Yeah, blah 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 golf. You know, and
hole in one.
they invited me out there. I went out there. So, but the thing is, I'm standing there, and somebody goes like, "Hey, Chris, if you want to hit a couple of balls," because I didn't pay for it. They asked me to come out there and like just hang out and like cover it for them. And they're like, "Hey, if you want to," I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Now, I am the worst golfer. Like, I suck at it. But I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who have never golfed that actually were taking them up
So
on
you
a
look
free
tall.
lesson, right? And I can't hit a golf ball straight to save my life, unless, of course, I'm using a 4-iron. For some
That's
reason,
your club.
I can hit a 4-iron straight
Putts
down the
with a
middle.
4-iron.
I do everything. I can drive with it.
I can do
Everything
it. I
goes
do
right
it
down
all.
the middle. I do it all. Everything with a 4-iron.
Need a 4-iron.
It just goes 150 yards straight up the middle and drops. Like that's all it does. Like my brother-in-law is basically a scratch golfer. Like he just plays all over the place, goes to Scotland and plays everything else. He just loves playing golf. And he laughs because we'll go out and golf once a year. Once a year, he'll be like,
That's
"Hey,
all
Chris,
he can handle.
you want to
Just
join this
one-
group?
one time.
We need an extra guy."
You just grab your 4-iron. You don't even need a bag.
Like,
Yes,
no.
literally
4-iron
everybody
and a
else,
putter.
and you're our
I'll
fourth.
grab the bag and I'll go there and I'll always convince myself that I can do it. And then after like 3 terrible holes, I'll get aggravated and just start
Have
hitting.
7 beers.
I'll just hit everything with the 4-iron, and he'll laugh. He'll be like, "You just parred 4 holes in a row, just hitting with one club." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's." I mean, like at this point, I'm like 12 beers in. The drink cart girl, I know her by first name.
4-iron
Hey,
Lanuti.
She's
Chris,
coming over.
3 more.
She's coming. Yeah,
3
just
more
give me
Miller Lights.
4-iron.
Yeah, hey 4-iron. Yeah, that's what they call me, baby. 4-iron. 4-iron Lanuti. Okay. And he's like, all you do is come up and just hit it straight down the middle. He's like, it's incredible. I'm hitting it like Happy Gilmore. Like it was like
Nice.
I'm
Run
taking
it up to it.
I'm taking like a weird
CGI?
step and doing it. It's crazy. So these guys asked me to hit, and I walk over and I grab the 4-iron,
Of course you do.
Safe.
and I come right up, and the first 3 I just rip them right down the middle. And
And you're like, that's just a 4-iron. Imagine what I can do with my driver, but
and
I gotta go.
As soon as I hit the 3rd one, and I put the club up in the air, and like everybody's like, "Wow!" And I'm like, and then like
You
this,
ate that up, didn't you?
oh, I did. And then
I
this,
know you.
This one young girl that was
he
like
hit his
nearby
car.
from Australia.
from Australia.
Yeah.
She goes,
She's really hot too.
she goes,
What did she say,
She goes,
Chris?
"Can you give me some tips?"
Are you Chris 4-iron Lanuti?
Yeah, that's me. I'm Chris
Heard about you.
Lanuti. 44 years old, and I still got it.
Thank you for listening to see what's happening on the Southside Pod. On the Southside Pod. Join us again and be sure to tell a friend about the Southside Pod. About the Southside Pod. All things about the neighborhood we live in. All things about the places that we go. It's the best side of Chicago, the South Side Pod. I bought a membership to the Elsa pool this year. I mean, it's expensive. Okay, it is expensive. It was $240 for the 4 of us, but they have a pool with a slide, and they have a
Right.
smaller pool. They have a
Right.
splash pad. They have
Right.
these zebras. You can shoot water at each other.
Right.
But
There's a better pool in the
apparently,
parking lot.
you don't want to do that. You want to blow up
Do people actually go in this thing?
an inner tube from your
Hold on.
Toyota Tercel.
I thought this was a joke. Do people actually
No,
go
they-
swimming in this?
Yeah, every time.
Are you kidding me?
There are pictures.
These aren't Photoshop
There's
pictures?
at least a picture that we
People go
you can
swimming
still
in
not-
the Elsa.
But come on, Alsip. Like we're trying real hard here.
It's 2021.
We're really trying
We're
hard.
trying real hard.
Really hard. We just want you
And
to.
then you just keep doing
yeah,
this
yeah.
this to us.
We keep trying to let you in.
I mean, you have a pool, a really nice
Right.
pool.
Right.
I'd go to the Jewel. I mean, go, but don't swim in their parking lot.